what's called a fly around, or that camera arc that you see in films. And this is the idea that we can see the whole object, and we're doing it in video, so we export it as that way. It's actually not that complicated. We have the computer and the program do most of the work for us. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, all right, is we're actually going to get rid of this camera that we have in the scene. Okay, so I'm going to highlight it, click it, and I'm going to delete. Okay, so I'm actually going to delete it. Boom, gone. Now, there's a reason for this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to Shift A. Let's go into our scene. Shift A. We're going to mesh, and we're going to do a. We're going to go over here to, let's see, curves, and we're going to do a circle. All right. Now it's different than the other one because this one actually works as a curve rather than an object. So it works a little bit different than our previous circle. So make sure you're doing that one rather than the standard circle. So what we're going to do is we're going to scale this out. All right. Scale it about there. This is what we're using this for, is we are creating the path of the camera. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab it up to Z so that, let's put it in the screen. So grab Z, bring it up. Okay. Right about there. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, from there, I now need to create a new, so Shift A, I'm going to add a new camera. Okay. Now, this camera, all of these things, these rotations that you see right here, notice, remember, remind you, if you don't see this, if you press the N key, it's going to open it up for you. Okay. We need our camera to be zeroed out for what we're about to do. Okay, so all of this stuff needs to be 0, 0, and 0. Okay, so it's basically pointing down underneath our forward. But what we're going to do is, now that we have our camera selected, we're going to come down here to something called constraints. Now, these are super useful. When you start getting into heavy modeling and heavy animation, you can apply these to objects so that they follow other objects or they point towards other things. It's super useful, specifically when you're doing like eyes or where somebody's looking. You create big rigs, and so you can do like the circle we have underneath. We can make rigs to say, hey, I want you to look over to here, and both eyes will follow it using this same method. But in this case, we're just going to use it and introduce it using a camera. So if I go to add constraint here, okay, what I'm going to do is I want to have it follow path. Okay, so you got relationships, follow path. Now it creates that. Now I need to select an object. Okay, I can eyedropper it, or I can click down here. And in this case, I've only got one curve there, so that's the one we want it to follow. Now, notice that it's pointing down, and it's starting over here. So that's its origin point. Now you notice it moved here. What I can do is have it track my character. So I'm going to add another constraint. And this one is going to be track to. Okay. And inside of this, I can decide what it tracks to, like what it points at inside the scene. I can use eyedropper, but again, this can be any object in the scene. So if you named your things properly, it makes it a lot easier. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it point towards the face. All right. So now, from here, all right, I want to click this animate path. So now if I come back down to my timeline and I've got over 100 seconds, you'll notice my camera runs around. So it just follows that circle on an even keel. I don't want it necessarily to be even keel because I want it to pause when it sees the camera. We're going to do something different in a second, but let's go ahead, use our zero numpad. And if I follow through, you'll notice we have now created a total fly around. And because it starts and stops in the same place, it absolutely continues to go. It doesn't matter. If we wanted to do one through, it'll keep going. All right. So hopefully that doesn't make you too dizzy. But let's say we want it to slow down at certain parts and speed up at other things. In this particular case, that's what I used when I created the Waldo one. So you can look at that one. You can see that as well. I'm going to do something slightly different, but it's very, very similar. The way we want to do that, the way we control that, is that we set keyframes. Okay. So I'm going to pop out of the camera really quickly. And I know that, so my other animation's already there. So right there, I want my camera to be in front. But the problem is it's going that way. Okay. Well, how do I control that? There's a couple of ways. One, I can take this circle and I can rotate it on Z, and you'll notice that the camera then is on it. So let's see what that does. So if it starts there, it looks there, but it's gone. It's well outside of that, but I want it to slow down during that, okay? So what I can do is I want my camera, if I go back to click on my camera, inside of this, okay, I have something called fixed position. I'm going to click that, okay? So now it stops rotating it. But what I can do is now use this offset factor. So remember trim pass that I showed you in class when it came to After Effects? This is a very similar setup, but what it's doing is it's saying we're offsetting where it is. So if I start there, okay, so I'm going to click on the offset. Over here, I can create a keyframe. And notice it's already created one in my timeline, okay? So now, if I go to this part, I want it to be right about there. I want it to be somewhere over here. So I'm going to move that, click and drag. So I want it to be right about there. Click that keyframe. And then I want him to kind of stay there, go slow through that till he goes to leave. So right about there. Okay. And I'm going to offset this so that it stays till about there. So it goes real slow during that part. Click that keyframe again. And then here, I want it to go all the way back to its starting point. Okay. Boom. So now, let's go into my camera view. If I go to here, we start playing it. See how it slows down in that moment, but it also stops. I don't want that to happen. What's happening? Oh, I didn't keyframe it. That was a problem. Let's go back to this over here. Let's go back to where we want it to be. Now let's go this over here. Boom. Hit the keyframe. Now it should work right. So let's go back over here. See what it does. Play. Keep slow, and then it runs away. Okay, so let's do something else. So we've got our fly around. Now, if we go into the render mode, you'll notice that he's still kind of dark. Like around here, it's very dark. And it's all front light, which is kind of boring. So I'm just going to change some lighting in here really quickly. So if I take my sun, grab it, rotate, Z, point him in kind of that direction. What I can also do is Shift A. I can add another light, but this time I'm going to add an area light. Grab it here. Nope. I'm going to do Shift Z. Pull it over here. We're going to rotate it on the X. We're going to rotate it on the Y. Come on. Grab Z. And if I come over here, I've also got a light tab. So what I can do, a couple of things. I can change the sun. I can change this guy. In this particular case, I'm going to change the color to something kind of blue. I'm going to change up the wattage. This is going to be, let's do 700. So now we've got a different setting here. I got this low blue light. I've got the sun, and I want one more light. So I'm going to add Shift A. Another light. I'm going to do area light. Grab. If I hit Shift Z, it means that it will move everything but the Z. Okay. So I'm going to grab, pull it up just on the Z up. All right. I'm going to rotate on the X that way. I'm going to rotate on the Z. We want them pointing that direction. So rotate Y. There we go. So now it's pointing where we want it to do. What we might do is also, that's good. So now in this particular case, we got our light. We're going to change this one to more like a warm color. Let's go for orange. Change this to 500. So now we've got these lights as we're doing it. So let's go back to our camera view. Now it looks like it's actually all kinds of dramatic. Boom. Look at all that lighting on there. how it changes dynamically. Boom. Okay. So now from here, we've got this cool dramatic scene with all this stuff, all the lighting, all the bounces, all of that thing going on. What we need to do is render it. We already know how to do this. So come down over here to your output settings. Make sure you've got this changed over to FMPEG video. Then render, animation. Now it's going to do every single frame. So we'll come back at the end and I'll show you the animation. All right, and there we are. So so that is the final thing. Do yours, add your lighting, add your camera rotation. By all means, please save anytime you need to. Come back and look at this video. I will give you both this file and I will give you the Waldo file. So you've got things you can open up if you wish to choose. Make sure you create your own, but if you want to dig around and see how I created stuff, it's all there for you. All right, I hope you've enjoyed this lesson and continue to work on this work. If you have questions, let me know. Have a great time.